Look at me, Ethan, Victoria Mensah demanded, her voice echoing through the luxurious suite of the Silvercrest Hotel. This is a disaster. The investors are already talking about pulling out. Ethan Mensah stared at the handwritten note crumpled in his hand. His jaw clenched so tight it might shatter. The room felt suffocating despite its enormous size. Around him, wedding planners scurried about, unsure what to do with the mountain of flowers and the 7-tier cake that would now go to waste. I'm sorry, I can't do this. By the time you read this, I'll be far away. Don't come looking for me, Serena. Those words felt like a slap across his face. After months of planning the merger between Mensah Enterprises and Wellington Industries, the bride had vanished, and with her, potentially billions in business deals. Say something, his mother pressed, her dress rustling as she paced. There are 300 guests out there, not to mention the press. This will ruin us. Ethan finally looked up. At 35, he had built an empire from the foundation his father had left behind. He had never failed at anything in his life. Until today. What do you suggest I do, Mother? Chase after a woman who clearly doesn't want me. Victoria's eyes narrowed. Find a solution. That's what you do, isn't it? Fix problems? Well, fix this one before our stock prices plummet tomorrow morning. Ethan strode to the window, loosening his bow tie. The view overlooked the hotel gardens where white chairs were arranged in perfect rows, now filled with whispering guests. Reporters were already gathering at the entrance, like vultures sensing death. As he turned back to face the room, his eyes landed on a young woman quietly organizing the scattered items on the vanity. Amira, the housekeeper who had worked for his family for 3 years. She always blended into the background, efficient and invisible. But today something about her caught his attention. Perhaps it was the way she worked calmly amid the chaos, or how she had politely asked the wedding coordinator to stop crying because it wasn't helping anyone. Amira, he said suddenly. She looked up, startled that he knew her name. Yes, Mr. Mensah. What happened next would change both their lives forever. Marry me, right now, 6 months. I'll pay you $20 million. The room fell silent. Victoria gasped. The wedding planner dropped a vase of roses. What? Amira's eyes widened in shock. You can't be serious. Sign the contract. Say, I do, and your life will change forever, Ethan continued, approaching her with the intensity that had made him famous in business circles. No one has to know about this arrangement. The ceremony proceeds as planned. The business deals stay intact. After 6 months, we quietly divorce. This is absurd, Victoria whispered, though Ethan could see the wheels turning in her head. A scandal was worse than a surprising bride switch. Amira shook her head, backing away. Mr. Mensah, I'm just the housekeeper. I can't. $20 million, Ethan repeated. Think about what that could do for you. For your family. At the mention of family, Amira froze. Her younger brother Tariq needed a surgery that cost more money than she could ever save on her salary. A surgery that could save his life. Why me? She asked, her voice barely audible. Because you're here. Because no one would question an employee I've known for years. Because I need someone right now. Victoria approached them, her expression calculating. It could work. A whirlwind romance story. The press would eat it up, better than being left at the altar. Amira looked between them, feeling trapped yet strangely empowered. $20 million. Freedom for her and Tariq forever. If I agree, she said slowly, I want half the money up front, for my brother's treatment, non-negotiable. Ethan's eyebrows rose slightly. He hadn't expected her to negotiate. Done, he said, extending his hand. Do we have a deal, Ms. Amira? Her hand was small but surprisingly firm in his. Deal, Mr. Mensah. Within an hour, Amira found herself in Serena's wedding dress, hastily altered by 3 frantic seamstresses. Her dark hair was styled elegantly, her makeup applied by professionals who whispered about the mysterious new bride. Before she could process what was happening, she stood at the altar beside Ethan, facing 300 strangers whose curious eyes bored into her. "I do," she whispered when prompted, the words feeling foreign on her tongue. "I now pronounce you husband and wife," the officiant declared. Cameras flashed. The crowd applauded politely, though confused whispers rippled through the rows. And just like that, Amira Jacobs became Amira Mensah, on paper, at least. After the wedding, Ethan whisked her to his private beachfront estate. The place was breathtaking, with floor-to-ceiling windows showcasing the ocean's vastness, but Amira felt like a prisoner in a beautiful cage. "Your room is down this hall," Ethan said formally, as if giving directions to a hotel guest rather than his new wife. "Mine is in the opposite wing. We'll need to be seen together at certain events, but otherwise you're free to do as you please." "How generous," Amira replied, unable to keep the sarcasm from her voice. Ethan's eyes narrowed slightly. "This was a business arrangement. Don't forget that." "Trust me, I won't." 3 days into their marriage, Amira realized that her new reality was even harsher than expected. Victoria arrived unannounced at breakfast, eyeing Amira's simple clothing with disdain. "At least try to look the part," she said coldly. "You're a Mensah now, not scrubbing toilets." Amira set down her cup carefully. "I earned an honest living cleaning homes. There's no shame in that." "Mother," Ethan warned, looking up from his newspaper. But Victoria wasn't finished. "The board members' wives are hosting a charity luncheon tomorrow. They're expecting Ethan's wife, not some maid in disguise." Amira stood up, her chair scraping loudly against the floor. "If you'll excuse me, I need to call my brother, the one whose life-saving surgery your son's money is paying for. Good morning, Mrs. Mensah." She walked out with her head high, but once alone in her room, her hands trembled. What had she gotten herself into? She was trapped in a world where she didn't belong, with people who saw her as nothing but an imposter. The next day, she arrived at the charity luncheon in a simple but elegant dress she'd found in the massive closet that had been filled for her. The wives of Ethan's business associates greeted her with fake smiles, their eyes assessing. "So, darling, tell us, how did you and Ethan meet?" asked a woman named Diane. "At his home," Amira answered honestly. "I was working there." "Oh, as what?" "His assistant?" another woman asked. "As the housekeeper." The silence that followed was deafening until someone tittered nervously. "How modern." "Quite the Cinderella story," whispered another woman, not softly enough. "Except Cinderella didn't sign a contract," added someone else, causing several women to laugh behind their champagne flutes. Amira felt her cheeks burn, but kept her composure. "Yes, I cleaned his home. I also put myself through night school, studying business management while supporting my brother." "What did you study, Diane?" The woman blinked, caught off guard. "Well, And what charity work do you actually do at these luncheons, besides wearing expensive dresses and gossiping about people you deem beneath you?" The room fell silent. Amira stood up, smoothing her dress. "If you'll excuse me, I need some air." She found a quiet terrace overlooking manicured gardens and took a deep breath. She shouldn't have lost her temper, but she refused to be humiliated. "That was quite the exit," came Ethan's voice from behind her. She turned, expecting anger, but found him leaning against the doorway with an expression she couldn't read. "I won't apologize for standing up for myself." she said firmly. To her surprise, the corner of his mouth twitched upward. I'm not asking you to. Then what do you want? To check if you're all right. Those women can be difficult. Amira crossed her arms. I've dealt with worse, but thank you. Ethan approached, standing beside her at the railing. I should warn you, the media has discovered your background. They're painting quite the picture. Let me guess, gold-digging housekeeper seduces billionaire? Something like that. Amira sighed, watching a gardener trim hedges in the distance. Does it bother you? What people think? Ethan considered this. I stopped caring about others' opinions long ago, but this is harder for you. You didn't ask to be thrown into this spotlight. Neither did you, she said quietly. Being left at the altar. For a moment, vulnerability flickered across Ethan's face before it disappeared behind his usual mask. We should head back inside, together. He offered his arm, a small gesture, but somehow significant. Amira hesitated before taking it. Together, she agreed. Weeks passed, and slowly, the enormous house began to feel less foreign to Amira. She established a routine. Mornings in the garden, afternoons visiting Tariq at the private hospital where he was receiving treatment, evenings reading in the library. It was in the library where Ethan found her one night, curled up with a book on investment strategies. Light reading, he asked, startling her. Amira closed the book. I figured since I'll have millions soon, I should learn how to manage it properly. Ethan poured himself a drink from the bar cart. Smart. Most people would be shopping or traveling with that kind of money. I've never been a most people. He sat in the leather chair opposite hers. No, you certainly aren't. Something in his tone made her look up. Their eyes met, and for a moment, neither spoke. Your sister called today, Amira finally said. Maya, she wants to visit. Ethan's expression softened at the mention of his younger sister. Did she now? She's supposed to be studying in Paris. She said she misses you, and she's curious about me, I think. Maya always was nosy, he said, though his voice held affection. Amira hesitated before asking, Why don't you talk about your family much? Besides your mother, I mean. Ethan swirled his drink, watching the amber liquid catch the light. My father died when I was 22. Heart attack. I took over the company right after finishing business school. I'm sorry. It was a long time ago. And your sister? A rare smile crossed his face. Maya was always the free spirit. She refused to join the business, broke our mother's heart. Instead, she's studying art history and dating a struggling musician, much to Victoria's horror. Amira found herself smiling too. She sounds wonderful. She is. Reminds me a lot of... He trailed off, his expression clouding. Of who? Amira prompted gently. Ethan stood abruptly. It's late. Good night, Amira. He left her alone in the library, the unfinished conversation hanging in the air. The next morning, Amira was surprised to find Ethan in the kitchen, attempting to make coffee. The staff has the day off, he explained, looking strangely domestic in casual clothes. Here, let me, she offered, taking over the coffee machine he was struggling with. I assume you take it black. How did you know? She smiled. You seem like a black coffee kind of man. Straightforward, no frills. As she worked, she felt him watching her. You know, he said slowly, you've changed things around here. What do you mean? The staff. They like you. Mrs. Patel told me you reorganized the pantry system. Garcia mentioned you helped his son with college applications. Amira shrugged, handing him a steaming mug. They're good people. I was one of them not long ago, remember? I remember, he said, his voice softer than usual. I just never expected... Never expected what? For someone to bring life back into this house. The sincerity in his voice caught her off guard. For the first time, she truly looked at him, not as the cold CEO or her contract husband, but as a man. His dark eyes held a depth of feeling she hadn't noticed before. Their moment was interrupted by the doorbell, followed by an excited voice calling through the house. "Ethan, where are you hiding my new sister-in-law?" Maya Mensah burst into the kitchen like a whirlwind of energy, all smiles and colorful clothes, the opposite of her buttoned-up brother. "Maya," Ethan greeted, accepting her enthusiastic hug. "I thought you weren't coming until next week." "And miss getting to know my mysterious new sister-in-law? Not a chance." She turned to Amira with genuine warmth. "The pictures don't do you justice. You're gorgeous." Amira couldn't help but like her immediately. "It's nice to meet you, Maya." "Oh, please. We're family now. Come on, let's have breakfast on the terrace, and you can tell me everything. How did my robot brother convince someone as vibrant as you to marry him?" Ethan rolled his eyes. "Maya." "What? It's a valid question. You two are so different." As they moved to the terrace, Amira caught Ethan's eye, silently asking how much Maya knew. He gave an almost imperceptible shake of his head. So Maya didn't know about their arrangement. Interesting. Over breakfast, Maya regaled them with stories of Paris, her art studies, and her boyfriend Pierre, whom Victoria apparently referred to as that penniless paint splatterer. "Enough about me," Maya finally said. "Tell me how you two fell in love. The media is going crazy with theories." Amira froze mid-bite. They hadn't prepared for this question. To her surprise, Ethan reached across the table and took her hand. "It was unexpected," he said, his eyes finding Amira's. "I'd seen her every day for 3 years, but never really noticed her, until one day I heard her laughing with one of the gardeners. Something about her laughing freely, being completely herself. It made me realize what was missing in my life." Amira stared at him, heart pounding strangely. He'd crafted a beautiful lie. "That is the most romantic thing I've ever heard you say," Maya declared, clutching her heart dramatically. "Ethan Mensah, brought to his knees by a laugh." "It happens," he said, his thumb brushing over Amira's knuckles in a gesture that felt far too intimate for their arrangement. The days with Maya brought an unexpected lightness to the house. For the first time, Amira saw Ethan laugh freely, tease, and relax. He was a different person with his sister, warmer, more human. One evening, during a thunderstorm that knocked out the power, the three of them sat in the library by candlelight, sharing stories. Maya had convinced them to open an expensive bottle of wine, and the atmosphere was cozy despite the storm raging outside. "Remember when Dad caught you sneaking out to that concert?" Maya said, giggling at the memory. Ethan groaned. "I was grounded for a month." "You? Sneaking out?" Amira couldn't imagine the disciplined CEO doing anything rebellious. "I wasn't always like this," he said, his expression softening in the candlelight. "Naomi used to say I was too serious, but back then..." He stopped suddenly, as if catching himself. "Naomi?" Amira asked. Maya's smile faded. She glanced at her brother. "You haven't told her about Naomi." The tension in the room was palpable. Ethan stood up, moving to the window to watch the storm. "Ethan's fiancée," Maya explained quietly. "She died 5 years ago. Car accident." Amira's heart sank. "I'm so sorry. I didn't know." "Why would you?" Ethan's voice was distant. "It's not something I discuss." "Ethan," Maya began. I think I'll turn in early, he said, cutting her off. Good night. After he left, Maya sighed heavily. He's never really dealt with it. After Naomi died, he threw himself into work, became the person you first met, cold, distant, all business. That explains so much, Amira whispered. He loved her since college. They were planning their wedding when… Maya trailed off. The worst part is, they'd had a fight that day, something stupid about wedding flowers. He never got to apologize. Amira's chest ached for him. Loss was something she understood all too well, having lost her parents young. Later that night, unable to sleep, Amira wandered to the kitchen for tea. She was surprised to find Ethan there, staring out at the rain. Couldn't sleep? She asked softly. He didn't turn. Too many ghosts tonight. She moved beside him, not speaking, just offering silent company. After a long moment, he spoke. Sometimes I think I forgot what her face looked like. Then something will remind me, and it's like losing her all over again. I know, Amira said. My parents died when I was 15. Car crash on their anniversary. For years I'd catch a whiff of my mother's perfume on a stranger, and it would knock the wind out of me. Ethan looked at her then, really seeing her. How did you get through it? Day by day, sometimes minute by minute. She hesitated before adding, and by remembering that loving someone means keeping them alive in your heart, not burying yourself alongside them. Without thinking, Amira reached for his hand. He let her take it, their fingers intertwining. They stood that way in comfortable silence, watching the storm together. The next morning, something had changed. Ethan greeted her with coffee, prepared exactly how she liked it. Their conversation flowed more easily, and when their hands accidentally brushed while reaching for the newspaper, neither pulled away immediately. Maya noticed, raising an eyebrow at Amira when Ethan wasn't looking. Over the following weeks, this new comfortable rhythm continued. They began having dinner together each night. Ethan started asking her opinion on business matters, genuinely listening to her suggestions. They took walks on the beach, sometimes talking, sometimes in companionable silence. One evening, he asked her to accompany him to an important charity gala. You don't have to, he said, but these events are more bearable with you there. She agreed and found herself in a stunning gown that made her feel like a different person. When Ethan saw her descending the staircase, his expression made her heart flutter. You look, he began, but seemed unable to finish. Acceptable? She teased. Breathtaking, he corrected seriously. At the gala, they moved as a unit. Ethan kept her close, his hand at the small of her back, introducing her proudly to colleagues. When they danced, it was no longer the stiff performance of their wedding day, but something more natural, more real. Everyone's watching us, she whispered. Let them, he replied, drawing her closer. They're just jealous. Later that night, as they drove home, Amira found herself studying his profile in the darkness of the car. What? He asked, noticing her gaze. Nothing. Just, this isn't what I expected. What did you expect? 6 months of cold politeness before we went our separate ways. Not… She gestured vaguely between them. Not this, he finished for her. Yes. He pulled into the driveway but made no move to exit the car. Amira, I need to tell you something. His phone rang, interrupting whatever he was about to say. Frowning, he checked the number. I have to take this, he said apologetically. It's the Tokyo office. The moment was broken. By the time they entered the house, the walls between them had partially rebuilt themselves. The next morning, Amira was enjoying coffee on the terrace when Victoria arrived unannounced, looking grim. You need to leave, she said, without preamble. Excuse me? Victoria tossed a tabloid on the table. The headline screamed, Serena Wellington returns. Mensa. Marriage scandal. Exposed. Serena is back, Victoria said coldly. She's claiming she was blackmailed into leaving Ethan at the altar. Her father is willing to reinstate the business merger if Ethan annuls this charade of a marriage. Amira's hands trembled as she picked up the magazine. There was a photo of Serena, beautiful, polished, clearly from Ethan's world, in a way Amira never would be. Does Ethan know? He's meeting with her and her father right now. The words felt like a physical blow. I see. Victoria leaned forward. Be practical, Amira. You got what you wanted, money for your brother's treatment. Ethan got what he needed, time to salvage his business reputation. The contract has served its purpose. Where is he meeting her? Amira asked, her voice surprisingly steady despite the storm inside her. The downtown office, but don't... Amira was already walking away. She had to see for herself. The Mensa Enterprises headquarters towered over the city, all glass and steel. Amira had only been there once before, shortly after the wedding, when Ethan had given her a brief tour. The receptionist recognized her immediately. Mrs. Mensa, we weren't expecting you today. I need to see my husband, Amira said, the word husband feeling strange on her tongue. He's in a meeting right now, but it's important. The woman hesitated before nodding. Conference room A, top floor. Amira's heart pounded as the elevator rose. What was she doing? Why did it matter so much? This was always meant to be temporary. They had a contract, that was all. Except it wasn't. Somewhere along the way, it had become something else. As she approached the conference room, she could see through the glass walls. Ethan sat at the head of the table, across from a beautiful woman and an older man who must be Serena's father. They were deep in conversation. Amira's courage faltered. What right did she have to interrupt? This was his world, his business. She was just what? The woman he'd married for convenience? The former housekeeper who'd fallen for her boss? Before she could decide what to do, Ethan looked up and saw her. Their eyes met through the glass, and something passed between them. Recognition, understanding, something deeper. He stood abruptly, excusing himself from the meeting, and strode to the door. Amira, he said, closing the door behind him. What are you doing here? Victoria told me, she said simply, about Serena, about the merger. His expression darkened. My mother needs to mind her own business. Is it true? He ran a hand through his hair in frustration. Yes, Serena's back. She claims someone threatened her family if she went through with the wedding. Now that the threat is apparently gone, she wants to pick up where we left off. And the merger, Amira pressed, would put Mensa Enterprises in an unassailable position in the market. Yes. Amira nodded, her chest tight. I understand. No, you don't, he said sharply. You don't understand at all. Then explain it to me, she challenged. Explain why you're even considering this after everything. Everything what, Amira? We have a contract. 6 months, $20 million. That's what we agreed to. His words stung more than they should have. Right, a contract. That's all this is. She turned to leave, but he caught her arm. Wait, that's not what I meant. It doesn't matter, Ethan. You should go back to your meeting. Your real life is waiting. She pulled away and headed for the elevator, fighting tears the whole way down. Back at the house, Amira packed quickly, throwing clothes into a suitcase with shaking hands. She didn't know where she would go, only that she couldn't stay. Maya found her this way, standing in the doorway with concern etched on her face. Amira, what are you doing? I can't stay here anymore, Maya. Because of Serena? Ethan wouldn't. Ethan will do what's best for business. That's who he is. Maya stepped forward, taking the shirt from Amira's hands. That's who he was before you. You changed him, Amira. Anyone can see that. It's not real, Amira insisted, though the words hurt to say. Our marriage was an arrangement, a solution to a problem. Maybe it started that way, Maya said gently. But I've seen the way he looks at you when you're not watching, the way he smiles now, how he talks about you. Amira shook her head. It doesn't matter. He's with her now, discussing their future. Then fight for him, Maya urged. Go to the Mensa Gala tonight. It's the biggest event of the year. Everyone will be there, including my brother. And say what? Please choose me over your billion-dollar merger. Say whatever's in your heart, Maya replied, squeezing her hand. Before it's too late. The Mensa family gala was a spectacular affair, held annually to celebrate the company's founding. This year it was at the grand ballroom of the Silvercrest Hotel, the very place where Amira and Ethan had married 3 months earlier. Amira arrived late, her heart in her throat. She wore a simple but elegant dress that Maya had helped her choose. As she entered, heads turned. Whispers followed her across the room. She spotted Ethan immediately, standing with Serena, his mother, and a group of board members. He hadn't seen her yet. Maybe this was a mistake. Maybe. But then he looked up, his eyes finding hers, across the crowded room, as if drawn by some invisible force. For a moment, everything else fell away. Victoria noticed his distraction and followed his gaze, her expression souring when she saw Amira. She said something to Ethan, who ignored her, excusing himself from the group. Before he could reach her, however, Victoria clinked her glass loudly, calling for attention. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for coming to celebrate another successful year of Mensa Enterprises. I have a special announcement tonight. She gestured to Serena, who stepped forward with a practiced smile. We're thrilled to announce that the merger with Wellington Industries is back on track. My son Ethan and Serena will be... That's enough, Mother. Ethan's voice cut through the room as he took the microphone. Victoria's face paled. Ethan, what are you doing? She hissed. But he ignored her, his eyes finding Amira again in the crowd. 3 months ago, I made a decision based on business. I signed a contract to marry someone, thinking it was just a deal. His voice softened. But what I didn't expect was to find the one person I never want to let go. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Serena's expression hardened. Victoria looked like she might faint. Amira, Ethan continued, walking toward her now, changed everything. She showed me that a house isn't a home without laughter, that success means nothing without someone to share it with, that it's possible to love again, even when you thought that part of you was gone forever. He stopped in front of her, ignoring the hundreds of eyes watching them. I tore up the contract, he said quietly, just for her, because I don't want 6 months, I want forever, if you'll have me. Amira's eyes filled with tears. What about the merger? Your mother? Everything you've worked for? None of it matters without you, he said simply. I love you, Amira Mensa, not because of a piece of paper or a business deal, but because you brought me back to life. The room was utterly silent now, everyone holding their breath. I love you too, Amira whispered, her voice breaking. I think I have for a while now. Ethan's smile was radiant as he lifted her off her feet, spinning her around before kissing her deeply, right there in front of everyone. The board members, the press, his disapproving mother, and his shocked ex-fiancée. And Amira kissed him back, not caring who was watching, because this wasn't the end of a contract, it was the beginning of something real. And that's the end of today's story. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this tale, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more captivating stories. See you in the next one.